Hello and good morning to all my dear friends. I hope my voice is clear. If it's not, please forgive for the inconvenience. Today in this video, our topic of discussion will be first past the post voting system. In this system, the system is basically used for voting one single candidate, so it's a single winner system, and it is used in countries like India, United States and Great Britain. Now the way the system works is basically you vote for whoever you like the most. For example, let's say if you are this particular guy here, let me erase all the ink. Let's say you are this particular guy up here and you lie along a political spectrum, and since you are closer to A, you vote for A. If you are closer to B like this guy upon here, then you would have just voted for B. And whichever candidate gets the most votes, in this case it's A, they win the elections. At the first sight, this voting system may seem fair, yet it's one of the most disastrous systems of voting that exist. There's a lot of problems on this thing, and almost everything in the system is wrong. For starters, there's a thing in this system which is known as the spoiler effect. What is the spoiler effect? Well, the spoiler effect is basically when there's a third candidate called C. In this case, you can see that 4 of the voters who had earlier voted for A are now voting for C in this new system. You can easily see the disadvantage. C is the least preferred voter. In this system, C gets only 4 out of the 15 votes and comes out in the last place in the elections. However, it leads to A losing the elections, although the voters of A would have chosen A if there was no C. Therefore, in this case, although B is not actually the most preferred candidate, B still wins the elections. Most people favor A over B. In this case, the voters of A can call C a vote-cutting candidate. This leads to minority rules, and not just that. Let's suppose one election's gone wrong. What happens in the next elections? Basically, the voters of C now do not vote for C anymore. What happens is that now in the next elections they just vote for A rather than C, and this leads to A winning the elections again. This means some voters like this one and this one are not really voting for their most favored candidate C, but rather they are voting for a less preferred candidate A. A is not their first choice. Therefore, in this system, people are not comfortably voting for their most preferred choice. Can a system be called fair if people are not being able to vote for their most preferred choice? The obvious answer is no, it can't. Therefore, we need a system where people can vote easily to their favorite candidate. Apart from this one disadvantage, there are other disadvantages. For example, the same spoiler effect also causes smaller candidates to lose the elections. The smaller candidates like C will never be actually able to grow because their voters will not actually vote for C but to some other candidate like A who have a more decent chance of winning. Therefore, over time, C will ultimately get eliminated from the entire electoral process. This leads to our second problem with the first past the post, an inevitable and unavoidable two-party system. What is the two-party system? Basically, in an election, a two-party system occurs when there are only two parties, A and B. Now, in most cases, you would like the three party, a four party, that is a multi-party system, to actually exist, like in this one. However, a first past the post system makes it inevitable. What happens in a first past the post system is that, let's suppose you have two of these candidates, A and B, who are really popular, and the voters of C, and just let's suppose there's a fourth candidate called D over here, and he has also got some supporters to him. In this case scenario, the voters of D will not really love voting for D because they see they are losing, and in fact, if D hadn't been there in the election, most of them would have gone for B actually. Therefore, what they do in the next election is that they basically shift their votes to B, and since D is getting no more votes, he drops out of the election. Same case for C, they shift towards A, and C also drops out of the election, and finally A wins the elections. Therefore, we can see there's an inevitable system. There's also one more problem with this system. It's called gerrymandering, which is basically a problem with every system which has only one winner. However, more of gerrymandering in another video. Only this much for today. Goodbye. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't yet left the video, let me just summarize everything for you once. The first past the post voting system, also known as plurality voting, it has only one advantage compared to several disadvantages. The only advantage it has is that it's simpler. You can easily make someone understand what it is. There's basically three candidates, A, B, C. You vote for A, and there's no voting for B, and then in the end, A gets 40% of the votes, B gets 30, and C gets 30. In that case, A wins. It's extremely simple, and that's the only good thing about it, but on the other side, it has a lot of disadvantages.